Release the Kraken.
That's fantastic.
Release Robin Hood. Release them from, you know what I mean.
These are crazy days, aren't they? Dogecoin.
Yeah, it's funny. I was like today outside in the garden, and I was like, yeah, interesting times. And it's not interesting. It's crazy.
It is crazy.
It's like, yeah, well, we get vaccine, maybe later. We get a trade war, maybe with some countries. Yeah, we have some mob trying to put down Wall Street. We have a cryptocurrency. We have whatever. It's amazing.
Yes, it is. And I imagine Crypto Stan, you're right in the middle of it, aren't you?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, it's been some crazy stuff that we had to do today. I was calculating all the indices, our large cap, small cap, and all that. And literally, I found myself censoring data because some of the stuff like you
can't keep up. You can't keep up.
I mean, Unobtainium, if you price it in Doge, was $180. But, obviously it's more like $60. So, try to figure it out with different pairs. And, none of these exchanges really work with one another. So people had problems taking stuff out of one exchange, putting it on another exchange.
Right.
Very frustrating experience, very inefficient.
Yeah, but you've got some exciting projects going, and I'm really glad you came because we wanted to learn all about it. But one quick word about Ewmci, your index there. And I'm not sure I'm using it right because I was using it back with the old what was it? The wallet that they just discontinued about a month ago.
Oh, Magnum.
Magnum, yeah. So it was Magnum.
Yeah.
So and I couldn't get all the coins there, but anyway, cobbling together what I could from your Ewmci, I put $2,000 into it. It's worth over $4,000 today, and that's not counting the Doge, right? Like
Wow,
if I count the Doge,
you've done well, and that's without any advertising, really.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm trying to follow your index there. It's really good stuff what you're doing there.
But guys, just imagine if there was advertising in large, what would that be?
Yeah, it's solid stuff.
I can tell you that it was picked, there was a lot of deliberate thinking going into it instead of just repeating, Bitcoin, Litecoin, and some major large cap stocks or, cryptos. We picked stuff from like essentially the entire spectrum of cryptocurrencies. And what's really amazing is the ones that are really kind of it's really out of the ballpark right now is the small caps. If you look at the bronze index, I mean that stuff is amazing. And then this week it's gone up another 10%. And Doge is not in that index.
Doge is in which one of your indexes? It's in one of them because that's the one I followed.
It's our large cap. So frankly, Doge didn't even, the thing is so stable that when Bitcoin went down 10%, this thing stayed flat. And that's one of the secrets to it, because what you'll find in the space is that all these currencies have kind of a limited pool of money going after them. So rather than kind of worrying which one's going to go up next, if you own the entire pool, then traders will just go from one to the other, but you're catching it all in your portfolio. You don't have to worry about whether you're in the right one or the wrong one. Over time, they're all going to float up or down. I mean, I don't want to disillusion anyone, but this stuff's going to go down at some point. It's going to correct.
Absolutely. Well, I got to say, it's an impressive index. There's an impressive amount of thought behind it, and Yeah, I mean, thanks to that, I had Doge before Doge went insane, and
Well,
I
then
guess
now
we'll see what's next.
we're all hitting the moon.
I refuse to say anything because I don't have anyone. I use Doge. I use Doge only for at South Exchange. For you get free faucet stuff there, and the only
Okay.
thing you can really exchange in a proper way was to Doge. So yeah, well, I had some, but yeah, you know.
So
Yeah.
tell us, speaking of this, is this a decent segue into your shopping platform that you're putting together?
Sure, I can
talking
talk
about
a little
that?
bit about it because, you know,
Yeah.
as an Ewmci asset, Litecoincash will be on our shopping platform. So
Yes.
I don't know how many of you have seen it. We're still doing some internal kind of alpha testing, so I really don't want to be advertising it until it's ready for people to actually see. But
Certainly.
all I can tell you is some key features to it. So number one, we're gonna have a blockchain recorded smart contract type environment where every transaction that goes in is going to be permanently recorded, and the buyer and the seller have to agree that if there is some disagreement, we're going to use that record to rectify it. The second thing that we're doing, and I think that's pretty unique in this space, is that it's going to have an escrow, but it's not an automated escrow. We're going to have an intelligent person, not AI, sitting behind, you know, the system and making sure that, you know, someone who sent a transaction hash didn't just make one up or took one from 8 years ago, but it's actually from today, from within the last 60 minutes. And also for the seller, we'll make sure that when they put a shipping number in that little box, you know, and submit, that it's not some fake number. So it's going to protect the buyer and the seller. And I think that's going to make a difference. But the other thing that's going to make a difference is that you're not just limited to one currency. You'll be able to use every single Ewmci currency. And we're limiting to Ewmci. So you won't be able to buy for Bitcoin or Litecoin or any other coin. But you'll be able to buy for Litecoincash, Global Boost. You'll be able to buy for Unobtainium, and, you know, all of our, you know, EWX index currencies.
And what are you going to be selling on the site or on the platform? Or
That's a great question. So, you know, there's going to be some degree of control over content. We don't want people just to kind of, you know, post stuff and sell potentially questionable things. So buyers and sellers are going to have to be certified and approved. And well, buyers obviously less so than sellers.
certainly.
But, you know, if someone's abusing the system, they're going to be off the system. But bottom line is, you know, we're thinking about starting small. We don't want to rock the boat. We don't want to cause, you know, Doge type situation. So, you know, and what I mean by that is we don't want to create a situation where someone's trying to sell a $2,000 plasma TV for, you know, Zetacoin, because I don't know if there's enough Zetacoin on the markets right now to buy a plasma TV.
Really?
And so if you know, so we're gonna have to kind of prime these markets with small ticket items, you know, whether it's a used book or a DVD or something that, you know, like, honestly, I wouldn't care if I keep it or if I sell it, but maybe someone else wants it. And so that's what we're thinking about starting. And once we get the market kind of warmed up, where the value goes up a little bit and there's more liquidity, then we can start selling bigger items. And you know, important thing is that we're going to work with listing services, you know, the coin paprikas, etc., to try to feed our prices and conversion rates, which are going to be based on real-time pricing data, back into the system. So if someone buys something for $50, it'll hopefully show as volume for that currency.
Got it. Whatever currency they used, that's an EWMCI coin. that's going to
Yes.
show for that coin's volume. So the idea is to increase volume for the coins.
Yeah, basically to use it as a currency. That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly, and start putting it to use here. So are you creating the entire platform yourself? Will there be wallets associated with it?
Yeah, so right now the platform's on there, and we're creating you know, the kind of infrastructure for the escrow. It fundamentally works, but the next step is wallet integrations, and that's really going to be the kind of final step, because that's automation of the address generation for the escrow. So each transaction will have a unique deposit within the escrow. Now, the cool thing is the seller gets to pick what they accept. So you could actually, you know, and as a community, LCC could decide that, you know, you're only going to accept LCC, and so you can provide that information when you set up a shop, and each shop's going to have, you know, the owner's name or whatever name you want to give it, and that shop will only take LCC, and so you can promote your own currency that way.
Okay, and you can have your own kind of proprietary items that you're selling.
Exactly. So if you want to sell LCC hats for LCC, perfect. I mean, that's a great use case, because it, you know, again, it's not going to rock the market,
Right.
but it's going to create liquidity.
Yes, and so I guess a kind of a separate but related question for your EWMCI. Are you going to have this platform like on the EWMCI website?
It's going to be, I think the URL is probably going to be something like ewmci.shop.
Okay, very
and
good.
then it's basically peer-to-peer, and what makes it, I think, more secure than anything else is that escrow, because you won't have to worry about,
Yes.
you know, whether or not something's going to show up.
So
you know,
you actually the middleman in this. I mean, not you, but your software or your program.
yeah,
Is that
that's
right?
the idea.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
idea is to create a platform, peer-to-peer platform, that's moderated, meaning that we moderate content so that it's only, you know, approved stuff,
Sure,
Mm-hmm,
we're not selling people, for instance.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
or some things that you want to be selling. But
No, that sounds cool. So actually, you actually kind of you can do B2C and B2B. Is that right?
well, it's you know, whatever two peers on either side can crosstalk. I think that's fair game. So
So
it's
it's
certainly
X
going to
to
be,
X or
it's
X to Y.
basically it's basically portable. So, you know, we'll be able to let other kind of more narrow use cases engage. You know, if they wanna, I guess, license the platform, or however you want to frame it.
Very
And
good.
the intent would be for any proceeds to go back to the EWMCI, so that we can funnel that back into the project. So the idea is, you know, for at least the initial part of any profit, for grants to be generated to projects. So I think right now in our documentation, that's not finalized yet, but we're going to have something like you know, $5,000 grants that are going to go to each project, but you'll have to apply for it, and you'll have to say, what are you going to do with it? You can't just say, well, I need money. You have to say, I'm gonna deploy a new, you know, I need a developer to help us do this, that, or the other. Okay, here's the money. I need to fund a new block explorer. Fine, you're not going to get 5K, but you may get a couple hundred. You know what I mean? So it's going to
Okay,
have to be justified.
very good. And with the EWMCI, kind of again related question, how as you use it or others that you know who use it, do you just get a separate wallet for each different coin, or do you have a multi-wallet that you use, or a mix of
Yeah. So
both?
Yeah, so I use a mixture of multi-wallets, and basically what we're developing right now in response to what happened with Coinomi and what happened with Magnum is we're
Yes.
developing a wallet that's going to be called Coinmunity Wallet. And that wallet's
Okay.
going to have all of our coins plus Bitcoin, Litecoin, and several other altcoins.
Very
I
good.
have to say, I have no affiliation with Magnum. I had no. So, but it was a really nice wallet. It was pretty cool. It was pretty straightforward, and I'm gonna really miss it. That just in the middle saying it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Just
carry on.
a quiet moment for Magnum Wallet. Very good.
Yeah,
Shed a
a lot
tear
of
for
people
Magnum.
miss it. A lot of people miss it, and it was a great wallet because it was lean. It was easy to
Yeah,
use.
it was so easy to use. It was fantastic, and it was so I could easily explain the least expert, so the total rookie, how to use a wallet. But yeah, that's the industry. Come and go, and come and go.
Well, the
So
other
I
thing,
have.
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, the other thing I was just going to mention is we're developing a platform for uh, uh, individual tax reporting. So, you know, when you trade transact on exchanges, things like that, and it's required for you to report, you'll be able to log in and just put in your transactions into that platform from time to time, and at the end of the year, generate a tax report with capital losses and gains. So that's going to be our next kind of product that's going to be very inexpensive with a subscription price.
Brilliant. I love that. That's fantastic. Keep it nice and clean and orderly. So you said something about Coinomi. What happened to Coinomi?
Coinomi delisted probably about 50 projects, and that happened end of the
Whoa.
year. And
Wow.
it was a little bit, confusing. You might say, to be just nice, because they kind of quietly asked for 3 Bitcoins to continue listing the project.
3 Bitcoins. So we're talking
Yeah, and
$88,000.
besides that, there's some rush in the market. They shut down. They can't handle it.
I mean,
Just
it
saying.
was a pretty big shock to all the communities, because suddenly, the wallet that people were using to kind of make it a daily routine to transact was gone. So,
Mhm.
Your only option is then to go to a desktop wallet, which, for a lot of the project, it was just not a viable option.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't realize that had happened. Well, I'm glad you've got a solution in the works. The other thing that I thought was absolutely fascinating that you're doing is your Dead Coin project. Did you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to advertise it too much, because we're not trying to attract the kind of
Well,
crowd we're
certainly.
trying to attract. People who legitimately want to hodl and have value long term. I'm not looking to attract people who want to, cash in and dump. There'll be a little bit of that. So we're very selective in how we do it. But just to kind of give you a better idea of what it is, it's basically a burn swap. So you have to burn, and then you get kind of a 100-to-1 ratio for a dead token or dead coin.
Okay.
And we provide the burn address, so we know it's burned. And basically, once we get to 100 users, this new coin called InfiniLoop. There's more information on it in the Ewmci Discord. But this new coin's gonna go on Fry Exchange probably once we get to 100 users, and it's already on the Gemmer wallet. So it's in a multi-wallet, and We have a nice Linux wallet, and we just compiled and released a Windows 32, which is compatible with 32 and 64 Windows systems. So that's a nice staking coin. It's built on Blackcoin, and as you know, Blackcoin is a very stable platform. I think it only forked once in like 8 years or however long it's been around. That's one of the reasons we picked it. And then the white paper, which I'm about to release, we basically approached approximately, I think it was 120 or 130 dead coin owners and asked them, if you were offered to kind of burn swap, what would your perfect coin be? So this is kind of a majority consensus of what that would be. People wanted to have something that's easy to maintain, where they can just put it in a wallet, and 10 years from now, it's still going to be there staking. And that's kind of what, what majority of the people who got burned with master nodes and other kind of fancy things were saying to us.
Okay.
And I thought you're collecting dead coins. I don't know, some kind of Russian coins or something.
Well, we burn them, and so if, as long as there's an address, you can show us, where to get the wallet or how to generate a paper wallet, and we'll generate it and have you send it to that address, and as soon as it's received, we can verify it in some way, and you get infinity loops.
And that gives me what?
The Infinity Loop coin, this new coin.
Okay. Yeah, I got it.
What qualifies as a dead project?
So we have a clear definition of what it is, and I don't want to misspeak, but it's a combination. You have to meet like 5 out of 7 criteria. So there's no website of any sort. There is no developer. There is no community. There is no explorer. There's no exchange pair.
Or I know, like there are only 2 nodes which are working because probably somebody installed it somewhere on a customer PC.
Right. But basically, it has to be really dead. And there's a lot of that out there. So, there was some kiwi or avocado or some other, fruit named token on Ethereum. So they send in 2 million tokens and got 20,000 infinity loops. That's the limit that we give.
Okay. And you're actively developing the infinity loop.
And what our plan is that once it starts getting listed on the exchange, and who knows what the float's going to be on the pricing there, but as soon as it gets listed on the exchange, the reward rate's going to go down. So now it's 100 to 1, it's going to go to 150 to 1, and then it's going to go to 200 to 1. So those who wait, that if there's any FOMO, it's probably going to manifest later.
I see. And this is a coin that Ewmci is actively developing.
Yeah. So I'm about to do an update next week with new checkpoints, new graphics, a couple of code upgrades to prevent dust attacks, things like that.
Okay, I love the ambition.
LCC team, you heard that? Update.
Yeah, it's there's someone else who we had in a show or an interview back in the summer. Their lead developer took off with a bunch of their money, and then this just barely happened. But by the criteria you defined, that wouldn't be a dead coin because the community's still bringing together developers, and they're going to take over the project themselves. So that's not a dead coin then.
Yes, I would consider that a project that is in distress, maybe. But as long as the community still exists and the community can potentially hire or bring in a new developer, then I don't think it's something that it's I wouldn't write them off yet.
Yeah, and as I've been watching what's going on in their Discord, you know, they've really rallied together. I mean, it was a real blow, and it felt like a real betrayal to them. But you could see that they're rallying, and they still believe in the project. How many developers do you have working for the EWMCI team?
Well, we are a group of developers essentially. I mean, you know, leaders,
Okay.
developers. So this is very collaborative. You know, we've gotten to a point where, you know, it's basically a seamless system. So if we need a Electrum X spun up, you know, it's a few direct messages and it's up and running. If you need an Explorer, you know, here's it. You know, new Equitas. It's like, you know, it's almost like a family or a team. You know.
Yeah. How many of you are there?
Well, in the core team is 20 something at this point.
Wow.
But our Discord is mainly, you know, devs and leaders, and that's, you know, 70 plus. So you know, I think it's a nice group, and there's always kind of camaraderie, you know, between us.
Yeah, and it seems like you have some great ideas. What's your kind of leadership structure? Do you lead it?
Yeah, we have, well, there's going to be a corporate structure that's going to be more formalized, because, you know, we need to get to a point where we can start listing these things, the different assets and initiatives on you know, more kind of big boy exchanges like, you know, Coinbase,
Okay.
etc. So for
Sure.
that, there needs to be a corporate structure, and we're forming an LLC around that, which is, you know, for Europeans, that's more like LTD, or you know, something along those lines.
Yeah, I think the
Uh,
Germans are a GmbH.
Yeah, something, you know, with limited liability,
Sure.
company.
mm.
But
Yeah, the
basically,
GmbH, yeah, yeah. That the funny thing is, I stopped thinking in German when when I talk English. It was like, huh, what he's talking about? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, the
yeah.
GmbH.
GmbH,
Whatever.
GmbH,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. That's correct.
it's
Yeah, but
it's
yeah.
all
my point at the moment is the controversy between decentralized and centralized. It's like, some people say, yeah, if you're too centralized, yeah, nobody will buy it. The others say, yeah, if you're too decentralized, nobody would like it. So, Stan, what's your opinion on this? You mean,
well.
you know what I mean? It's like XRP. They claim, yeah, it's an ever-running IPO. Uh, uh, what do you think about that?
I think the model that we have, and it works really well, is that we're approaching everything almost like the United States of, you know, like some kind of a country with independent states that have their decentralized governance, and basically what we do as a group is, whenever we get in trouble, we act together. So that's really the secret, you know.
What does that look like? If you could maybe name an instance.
So, you know, let's say there was a coin recently that had a pretty nasty fork after an upgrade, and
Okay.
so, you know, I may not have been on that coin's Discord in 2-3 months, but, you know, when this happened, you know, we had probably a group of 2 or 3 people jump in, stop the blockchain, notify exchanges, stop all transactions, stop all the wallets, stop the Electrum. I mean, it all happened within a couple hours, and then
Oh
we
wow.
dealt with, you know, the whatever, you know, the damage was.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, that is so do you have like a kind of constitution that holds you together?
Well, it's an operating agreement for the LLC. Again, it's not
Okay.
formalized yet, but it's pretty much, you know, like, everybody's gonna do what's in their best interest, but when it comes to the group's gonna do what's in the group's best interest.
That sounds fantastic. That's a great community, and you're active on your Discord there at EWMCI, because that's kind of the parent corporation, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I would imagine then you're moving forward with a CAIM, the medical model.
Yes. So we're trying to get some more applications, and I would love to, see maybe development from different partners of some kind of technology and other capabilities that we could start using, whether it's for membership management or some kind of, effort tracking or things that can quantitate using the ledger. Does that make sense? Because that's really, that's blockchain 101 right there.
Yeah.
How can we how can we leverage all that so that it's done, um, using our partnership that we already have developed?
I guess maybe talk a little bit more about that when you say membership management. Membership management for the CAIM?
Yeah, so something along the lines of, for example, allowing members to have almost like a universal ID,
Okay.
or and that can be done. It'll take some development, blockchain development, but it can be done. It could be a very attractive proposition. Now, another thing could be things like event management, where people get their ticket and it's issued on blockchain. So when they go into the event, they don't need to present the ticket. They just pull out their phone, and there's some kind of blockchain reader that verifies that indeed, I bought my ticket 2 days ago. Something like that.
Got it. Very
I
cool.
think.
And is that something? Oh, go ahead.
No, please.
I was going to say, is that something that EWMCI would maybe offer a grant for?
Well, I think if this was possible, yes, certainly would be something to consider. But you would need to have a pretty good proposal. It wouldn't just be kind of vaporware, but it would have to be something that it actually functions and could be ported into different platforms or cross-platform.
Very good. Well, I love what you're doing here. This is a great community that you're putting together. I saw something that you posted the other day, and I watched that video. It was I forget the gentleman's name, but it was on the social media. Talking about how social media had been made in the image of social recluses, right? People who maybe don't necessarily like interacting with people.
Yeah.
What's your interest in that space?
Well, the interest in that space is that you see a lot of this fragmentation, and this is also happening in crypto. So I do like Discord, in that Discord is actually a moderated environment. In that video, he was talking about unmoderated environment where you get feedback,
Yes.
and that feedback is completely unguided. So you can just kind of
Yes.
cling on to what you like, and just kind of, if you're off the median, you're just gonna keep kind of getting off and off further and further,
Yes.
as opposed to in a Discord where there's moderators, there are people who kind of, if there's a conflict, they get involved and they say, okay, you two cool off, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But in Facebook and Twitter environment, there isn't such a thing. So people are just kind of getting buried deeper and deeper into their kind of emotional state. And some of the things that really worry me is all these statistics on mental health, and how social media is the only thing that seems to correlate with really a lot of problems that people are having, and are having a hard time explaining.
Yes. It's interesting. I've recently started looking into the formation of cults, right? The psychology behind how a cult leader would form a cult, and one of the large factors is controlling the members' information, right? Keeping them in an information silo where they're not allowed outside information. And it seems that social media.
Can I say something?
Yes, please.
For example, now what happened with the Robinhood, when they started to
Yes.
shut down the trading on GameStop, and also the thing that Twitter shut down Trump. I mean, for Trump, for me, it's okay. But anyway, if you take a step back and look at that, it's like, I don't know, it's like the king said, and the people have to do.
Yeah,
You know
well,
what I mean? It's like we as long as we behave as we do or we did, all is cool. But if you step up or if you try to change something, then you see that the people who are like the wealthy people, they were like, oh, what? He's touching my stuff. Get back, get back. You know what I mean? So the thing is it's not even decentralized or not decentralized. It's not even free speech or not. It's the matter of fact what you do with your free speech.
yeah, there are a lot of dimensions. There are a lot of dimensions to it. I think what we need to remember is that both the GameStop and Dogecoin are forms of manipulation, and
Sure. That has no long life, of course.
the poor people who are buying this stuff are going to lose a lot of money, but somehow they believe they're doing something good, and it's insanity.
Yep. But also, I mean, it's even there are some people who earn some money. I mean, this is just a promille, not even a percentage of anybody. Yeah, but and then the question occurs. Maybe there were something bigger investors into that.
It's
like
very true.
A hedge fund against another hedge fund who says, "Oh, let's get rid of him." So conspiracy theories never end, and that's the thing about conspiracy theory.
Well, but I can tell you one thing. This is very tragic, and the tragic thing, is that these hedge funds went down, and they have hundreds of employees. They're all going to be fired.
And customers.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the customers are going to lose money. So but let's talk about like the direct effects. So first, hundreds of people are going to get laid off. And second, all those GameStop, people from Reddit or whatever they're from, they're all going to lose all that money. So at the end of the day, they're going to lose all the money, and hundreds of people are going to get fired. Nobody wins.
Right. Correct. It's a big game, and the market is subject to manipulation.
Actually,
and GameStop is bankrupt. There's no coming back.
GameStop is still dead. It was dead before and is now dead afterwards. But you can see it one way. It was a statement of the CNBC called it the mob, and for this statement it was okay. But of course, you see, everything could be run up or even run down by the mob.
Yeah.
Okay, don't get too depressive. Let's play a song. Let's take a P minute or 4 minute or something.
Good.
and then continue. Okay?
Sounds good. And we'll wrap this up in 20 minutes total.
Yep.
Thank you.
For the kids out there, this is why your dad became a slacker in the 90s.
Yeah, no, this is my childhood, man. This is good stuff. 1993.
Me too. Yep.
Well, good. Hey, to kind of circle back, Stan, where we were talking, kind of began talking about your shopping platform, and in some ways your Dead Coin project, because it seems at that point you're bringing communities of people back into conversation, right? With the market, so to speak.
Yeah, I think it's very important to think of it as the community effort, because really it's all about communities and it's all about use cases and common purpose or goal. So one thing I've noticed, and just kind of looking at the more successful projects in the sphere, like Bitcoin or Litecoin, there's a very loyal community that's following that particular project, and they're kind of willing to go above and beyond for that project. And when you define what it is that makes people want to do it, there is you know, obviously you don't want it to be something that's ridiculous or something that's, you know, cult like, but you know, it's almost like people who use certain kind of you know, I don't know, or like certain cars, so they always buy the same car, or they always buy the same TV brand because they trust it. You know, that's the kind of concept that I'm trying to tap into here. And you know, instead of a single project, what we're trying to do is promote a community of project as a single kind of large entity where, you know, eventually hopefully we'll have things like atomic swaps and things like that, where it won't matter what you pay in, you can always get paid in whatever you want and pay in whatever you have. Does that make sense? So
It does.
So the idea is to create a community that's focused more on function, purpose, and use, as opposed to the name, the brand, the you know, I had a friend who complained the other day. He was literally attacked in a Bitcoin forum because he was saying something about Bitcoin. I think that's extreme. So the goal is to have different developers, different community members, respect the project, know that it's a family of projects. It's a family, so everybody's equal, and that we're marching towards the same goal. And the team of 20 plus developers and 60 leaders is just as big as Bitcoin team probably is.
Yes, correct.
And so really what we have as a community is an equivalent of Bitcoin when we're all together. Does that make sense?
It does, and it seems like your Ewmci. I mean, that's one way to, you know, put liquidity in some ways, put money into some of these more obscure projects, but that have devoted followings. But to also with the shopping platform to bring these communities into conversation with each other.
Correct.
And start doing liquidity.
And not just that, I mean, the community wallet is going to have primarily our coins. So it's going to be an experience. It's like a brand where, you know, you buy a Mercedes-Benz, you expect certain type of, and you know, I have no commercial interest, so I'm just using that as an example.
Sure.
But if you buy that kind of car, you expect that the knob is going to be round and it's going to be right there where you like comfortably put your hand so you don't have to stretch. You know, that, I mean, that's the kind of experience we want for end users. So they don't have to worry, like, if I send a coin from this wallet to that wallet, will it get stuck in a mempool? You know, that kind of crap.
Right.
Like, I mean,
exactly.
that's what we want to take out of that experience. The worry, you know, like if I buy something from you, are you really going to send it to me? And on your end, if you sell it to me, am I really going to pay you, or am I going to try to like scam you? And you know, those things we need to take out of the system.
Yeah, and if you have an intelligent, you know, person behind an escrow system, I mean, that to me seems the perfect way to do it. You know, that way you can have complete strangers transact with perfect confidence.
Yeah, and you know, we will protect everyone's information. So the way we protect information is that currently Logware is going to log all the transactions, but they're going to be encrypted. And so only the buyer and the seller are going to see that information. And the escrow will be able to verify it with a key if that's necessary.
That's the basic idea of a trade.
But the difference is this can be now done worldwide and, you know, in real time. it seems in some ways through your community wallet, you're creating kind of maybe a similar form to what exists with what you've described in EWMCI, right? A group of independent people that are working in concert toward a unified goal with some kind of order, but still autonomy.
Exactly. So give you an example. We have folks from Aurora Coin who are in Iceland. I mean, there's no way I'm going to be shipping Bitcoin miners to Iceland and selling them on this platform, but they can do that from Icelander to Icelander.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
And the escrow may be in India.
Now, will the escrow be a function that comes from EWMCI, or would that also be a community provided service?
It's going to be provided by EWMCI, because I think
Okay.
there could be a small risk that if it's community provided, that the escrow could be in on something.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we really want it to be more of a function that's completely neutral, like a judge or a jury.
Yeah, it's a fantastic vision and a great idea. Because I guess the way cryptocurrency is going is, it's just going to increasingly fragment, right? You're just going to get more and more coins that are more and more personalized, and they'll need to come together in a kind of pool or community to have any sort of impact in the market. But I guess with atomic swaps, anybody could convert anything to anything, and buy using their community coin that they trust, right?
Correct, but we're not gonna just let anyone in. The projects have to meet certain criteria. They have to be willing to play along with the others. We don't want people taking advantage of something that's good and then just kind of ruining the system that way. So the idea is that we all have to. Everybody has to come to the table with respect. That's the primary value. And then once that respect and that the trust develops, then everything else follows. But if we have a project that comes in and demands things and never gives anything back, then I think that's something that would have to be reevaluated.
That makes sense. So I mean, it kind of goes back to EWMCI is kind of controlling it so that it's a moderated environment and it keeps its integrity.
Yes, and there's a governing board and project leaders who represent projects on that board are the ones who essentially make decisions. It's not a single person making arbitrary decisions. It's more of a group decision based on evidence.
That sounds fantastic. I know the one thing that LCC can kind of add to that thing is, with the Hive technology, that's one way that very small, cap coins can protect themselves against, predators essentially. And so I don't know at some point as this Hive technology gets out there, that's probably something that a lot of these smaller projects could use to keep their coins safe, so to speak.
Yeah, it's certainly something to look at. We have experts now in things like Oxpa and staking and other ways of protecting the blockchain. But again, if the model of the Hive mining is something, it's a trademark of LCC community, and that's what the community brings to the table, then I think it's a wonderful way to contribute to other projects and help them get more secure within the community. Obviously, you don't want to be just kind of giving it away and installing it in every blockchain.
Totally.
But if there's, for example, a project that is struggling with master nodes, maybe they're just not, there's not enough master nodes or they're not enough users. I think one substitute for a master node could be, a Hive mining. I'm just using that conceptually.
Totally. So this is something that I guess LCC could add to the Coinmunity group, is what you're saying.
Absolutely, and ultimately, I think and I don't follow the project as closely, but I'm intrigued about Ring and whether or not that could be a contribution as well, because it's a really cool thing.
Absolutely, it really is.
And that brings us to the question is what's about all this hustle about privacy coins and not privacy coins, and what's about with privacy communication and the regulated communications about Twitter, and something we learned that you could be easily cut off. What do you think about that?
So privacy coins in Twitter?
Yeah, no, actually the centralized. It's one thing is the one side is the privacy stuff, and the other one thing is like Twitter, Facebook, Robinhood, and everything where they can cut off people of doing what they used to do.
Yeah, I guess that kind of goes back to what you were saying, right, Stan? With, if you have a wholly unmoderated community, you have chaos, right? And it tends to get pretty toxic pretty quickly.
Well, what actually happens, and this is where I think this particular video, this guy Sam Vaknin is spot on. It's there is addiction, which is one thing, and there is conditioning, which is another thing.
Yes.
And what social media does, it basically conditions, which means that people start becoming addicted to it through conditioning, meaning that you expect likes, you expect this, you expect something, and then if it didn't meet your expectations, then you become hurt, and it propagates itself. And the problem is that the person not only competes with other people, but they start competing with themselves.
Yeah.
And the whole thing was designed that way. Yeah. So instead of being productive, which I guess, the other thing he's saying is that things like love and support and empathy, they're not rewarded. They're not something that, the community will be excited about. People like to see hate. People like to see, anger.
Somebody get hurt. Yeah.
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 So that's what it feeds on, and then you get likes, and that's where it, this whole system is.
I'm not about likes. I don't even look at my, what's it called, the spectrum, how many people is visiting what and how many likes you got for something, because if you do that, it would be, I don't like to dedicate my life on that. You know what I mean?
Right.
I type what I think, and if somebody likes it or not, I don't care. I don't even answer about some pro or cons. I don't.
Well, ultimately, what I agree with this guy is what's going to happen is the world is going to be divided into people who use it and people who don't, and their way of thinking is going to be completely different. They're going to be incompatible emotionally.
I would agree with that. No, it 100% does. It's you'll have people that were conditioned to essentially feed the addiction of hate and scandal and outrage, and that's what that pushes, versus others that are building communities, which is what I love about what you're doing and what I love what's happening here.
And the problem is if a program something like a free speech something, I'm thinking about the good things, but there are lots of people who will use it for bad things. That's the
without moderation. That's
yeah.
And that's the problem, is when it's unfiltered and there's no one watching, and that's when bad things happen, when no one's watching, right?
Yeah, but it's like the blockchain. Okay, there's no control from outside. So, what are you gonna do? Keep it running or cut it down? Yeah, that's
Well,
No
and when you
problem.
have a board controlling like an EWMCI where it's a larger group of people, your chances of that going well for longer and sustaining itself well are much, much higher. So that seems a really stable model to have created, and just wish you only the best there. Thank you so much for taking time
And
out of your day to talk with us.
I have something. I have 3 questions for all our interviews now. It's short.
Okay.
It's a yes, no, and whatever. Um, okay, question number 1. BTC went to 44K, then back to 30K. Who cares? Do you?
What? I'm
Stan?
sorry. You mean Bitcoin, right?
Yeah. Bitcoin went to 44K, then back to 30K, and up. And do you care?
I don't.
Matt?
I don't.
No,
I don't.
I don't either.
Okay. That's good. That's the question. That's the answer. Next question is what happens now with cryptocurrency complying with the idea of Satoshi? What do you think?
Oh, I don't know.
Right. So I'm gonna give you a vague answer because it's kind of a vague question, right?
It doesn't matter.
So my answer is, it's like Newton's third law. So Satoshi was one force pushing one way. Then you got to figure out which force is pushing against it. And really what you'll never end up with pure Satoshi vision, nor will you end up with pure opposite vision. You'll end up with a blend. And the question
No,
is
because the question relies on basic stuff like first they scream for we need institutions to invest into Bitcoin. Now we have institutions, and now everybody says, oh, they pumping and dumping and they hate us.
Yeah,
What I
has
mean?
to be, for every action there is going to be an equal and opposite reaction, and whether
Yeah, well,
it's
that's physics. That's physics, not mathematics.
yeah, but it's the same thing.
Yeah, I know.
Then the other thing I'll tell you, what I see that in a lot of conflicts is when stuff like that gets under the surface for too long, then the tension keeps building and it'll just blow up. So it's better if it's out in the open.
So you mean it's better to have the institutions? Point.
If that's what it takes to keep people from getting hurt and catching the bad guy, gotta live with a little bit of that.
Yes.
You never know. You never know. Yeah. Actually, that's the second question. The third and the last question is institutes. Now we have them still happy. Because everybody was like, regulations or not, and that's the thing. Because in my opinion, everybody got scares of they want to regulate us. Regulations doesn't necessarily means that they want to destroy you. It's just they want to put it in some channel. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a sign of maturity. When
Yeah,
when
it
airlines
should be normal. It should be normal Wild West, like
well when airlines first started, there was a lot of airplane crashes. Would you want to live in a world where you might crash every time you get on a plane, or would you rather have very strict regulations?
my neighbor works at the and he says it's still a mess.
And so I'd rather go on an airplane that's fully regulated.
I
Of
agree.
course.
I agree.
Me too. That's the one thing I really 100% totally agree. Because every time when I go on a job somewhere and the airplane rattles, it's like, do I really have to die this way? Why? For this one fucking job.
Yep.
Okay,
Right on.
guys.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you both. Thank you.
It's 1 a.m. in Vienna, Austria.
All right.
Thank you all.
Vielen Dank. Okay.
Yeah, vielen Dank. Alles Gute.
Gern geschehen.
And I remember I used to go to Vienna. Das ist Wurst, right? Das ist Wurst.
Das ist wurscht. Yeah. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's wurscht. Or like the dude word for in Austrian is "Oida." You can sound it as a question, "Oida." So, dude, what? Or "Oida." Hey, dude, behave. Okay, that's the Viennese language lesson for today.
Sounds great.
Okay. Guys,
Well,
stay safe, stay healthy, and yeah, don't drink as much as me.
Prost.
Prost. Exactly. Prost. Have a great night.
Danke, Prost, cheers,
Yeah.
bye-bye.
Bye.
Ja.